Alright guys, Anthony Service. I got Joe's truck here. This is the one that had like sludge oil in it. And it has always, it chewed one starter up. We went ahead and yanked the starter out of it. 6.4 starter in here. I guess it came out and it just wouldn't crank. And it's acting like it's hydro locked right now. We exposed the back. This is the best way to do it. Just pull the fan stator, pull the shroud out and separate the stator away, fan stator, and then try to bar it over. Does have an EGR cooler in it. Not far-fetched that we're going to find out right now if the EGR cooler is failed and it hydro-locked the engine. Because we tried to bar it over and it's pretty freaking hard to bar over, so hang on. Alright, the valve's dry. Well, kind of dry. I mean, dry. It's not a little glistening, but not soaked. Let's go down in here. I need to phone his inspection because I'm not on a creeper. Can't tell how wet that is or not, but if it did, if it pushed coolant out of the EGR cooler while it's parked, because this does have, I mean, it's got head gasket issues. I mean, you can see the residue from it. So it's been puking, so it's been under pressure. If the EGR cooler did fail, then while it's sitting parked, it could push coolant from coolant pressure. It could push it into the exhaust and run down in the passenger side bank and fill up one of the cylinders in this passenger side. We're going to start, as of right now, we're going to pull glow plugs on the passenger side and then see if we can bar it over. Because it's, or, I mean, I guess we put a set of Ford injectors in this. How long ago? About almost a year ago. Less than a year ago, we put a set of injectors in it. He said there was no smoke. He just came out one morning and it just wouldn't, no crank, wouldn't start. Kind of like starters out. Yeah, that's kind of scary. And it has been making, I noticed after, it was here for an oil change a couple days ago, and when you hit the starter to try to start it, the starter cranks over. It would crank over like normal, and then it would have a clicking noise about every quarter of a second. Be like click, 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 while the starter is cranking over. So that also makes me think there might be a flex plate issue. So if there is an issue on the back where we're sitting right now, we've already looked inside of there, and what the parts we can see, there is metal shavings on. Did you take a picture of that?
No, this is what I got.
No, that picture. Show me it. The flex plate did have metal shavings on it, so, but with the parts we can see, we need to be able to bar it over so we can inspect the whole rotation of the flex plate and see if there's a spot messed up on it. Because, you know, I mean, who knows? Maybe there's a broken spot on the flex plate. If we pull these glow plugs and the engine still does not bar over, then what the other place we would go would be to pull the other side, the driver's side glow plugs. And then if it doesn't bar over, there's a picture of it. You can see all the metal shavings down at the bottom. And I mean, but that's not entirely messed up, but if it doesn't bar over when we got all the glow plugs out, I mean, you know, we might be, well, if we yank the transmission, that would be an entirely exploratory deal to pull the transmission out to see if there's a flex plate issue, because it also could be a base engine issue. I mean, it might be, I mean, I hate to say it, but it could be locked up. If it's, we'll just see when we pull glow plugs. We'll get. All right, let's look at this here. I guess Darian said, oh goodness. Okay, so we probably are looking at an EGR cooler. See how the coolant coming out of number 5 port? That looks like coolant. That's probably coolant. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. That's Damn. All right, so we're gonna pull the glow plugs out. Right now, we're gonna pull the odd side glow plugs on the passenger bank, and let's see if we can bar it over. I'm assuming we probably can, so hang on. All right, guys, I guess we're draining the coolant right now, but it has been sitting all night. Oh, son of a bitch. That's not, does this have green coolant or is that?
That's green coolant.
Oh, that's coolant. That's not diesel. That's freaking coolant. Okay, so with that said, what the normal culprit for that sludge in the cooling, in the oil, if it's coolant in the oil, I mean, yeah, you know, you could be looking at crack block or something like that, but the normal culprit would be a front cover issue. Oh crap, or oh crap, yeah. Damn, it hasn't been like that. We haven't. Of course, I guess every time he'd come and get an oil change, it was hot, so it was probably all mixed up. But maybe, wow, okay, let's just process this for a minute. We're going to get the oil drained. We're draining the oil because we'll pull the glow plugs out. And we're not going to use the starter. We're just going to bar it over by hand. And if a cylinder is hydrolocked, it'll push coolant out of the bore. But if the starter's not turning it, it won't turn it over with any force. So the coolant will just run out of the glow plug hole and go right down to the crankcase. So I want to drain the oil pan, get it to where it's not dripping at all. And then when we bar the engine over, watch for coolant, a little bit of coolant, just enough for a cylinder to pour out of the drain plug. And we'll look inside while we're barring it over too. I'll look inside. I mean, number 5 looks a little wet. I mean, that's actually pretty rare. I mean, to have that much coolant in the oil. I mean, his degas bottle looks like crap. There's oil all over that. You see this? There's oil all over the place in there. Degas bottle looks like crap. So, but I mean, oil cooler. I mean, I guess we could. An oil cooler letting coolant in the oil also. That's pretty far-fetched most of the time. The coolant pressure is less than oil pressure, so it's path of least resistance, so it will push oil in the coolant rather than coolant in the oil. Now, if we change that though, and we have a head gasket issue where the coolant pressure is high, then it possibly could push coolant into the oil side if you have excessive coolant pressure, or a front cover. Or absolute worst case scenario, we got a crack in something. Cracked block, cracked head, something cracked, which is rare. I've only seen 2 trucks ever that actually had cracked blocks. So I would push more to the front cover. That's a little more common. Or oil cooler. Oil cooler with bad head gaskets. Oil cooler with excessive degas pressure, I guess, could push coolant into the oil. I mean, that's not a common symptom of an oil cooler failure, is coolant in the oil. Normally, it's oil in the coolant. So, all right, hang on. Okay, he's pulling glow plugs out now. 5 is severely eroded away. Damn, you can't really see it. Five does not look all clean, and might be looking at see how gummy that is compared to the other ones. The other ones at least have dry spots on them. That one's wet the whole way, and it's chewed up. It is not smooth. I can't get it focused. Hang on. See that? See how? Wow. That looks like crap. Alright, hang on. Alright, here we go. Can you see it? There's a fat glare on this thing.
I just got oil on it, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, it keeps getting sludged up. All right, we're gonna gamble that it's number 5. Hang on. All right, now we're gonna have to just catch it because there's the glow plug hole. We'll watch for coolant to come shooting out of there. But he's gonna bar it over slow, so we won't really see a lot, but it's fine, just...
Ready?
I guess. Oh, yep. Okay, coolant poured out of it. All right, so it's cylinder 5 hydro lock. EGR cooler failure. Fill the cylinder up. Right now, we got to get the coolant completely out of the truck, and we got to start this freaking truck up. To get that cylinder 5 clear, we need to burn this coolant off because it will rust that cylinder wall in a second, which it probably has already formed rust, but at least we can do is we'll bar it over and clear the hydro lock, drain the coolant, start this thing up, let it burn out, and then it needs, I mean, yeah, it's time to get rid of the cooler. And then we got to get it started as quickly as possible and get the cooler out of there, and it's time. All right, guys. I mean, honestly, those that I've seen enough. I've seen enough. Clear the hydro lock. Get the starter put back in it. This still does not address the clicking noise that goes on when we start it. So maybe we'll before we put the starter in, we'll clear it and we'll bar it over once and look at the flex plate for any damage, because this thing it clicks. I'll pause the video and we'll put it all back together, and we'll go ahead and document the clicking because it's kind of freaking nuts. And also, that doesn't, I mean, very rarely does this put coolant in the oil. A failed EGR cooler will almost never put coolant in the oil. So we're obviously probably going to be looking at an oil cooler, potentially a front cover also. But if we do a front cover, that's kind of just, we'd have to take it off and hope that we see a crack in the front cover or cavitate it away, which is 6 liter. It don't really cavitate to coolant in the oil, but it will crack. So, yeah. Hang on. We'll go ahead and show this. Go ahead. Or did you get it all the way?
No, it should.
Go ahead. Yeah. All the glow plugs are out. I guess you did bar it over enough. Normally we use a starter for this. Very rarely. I don't even remember. Guess I didn't need to look down in the hole because it's shooting that stuff the heck out.
That's all of it.
That's all of it? Alright, so the hydro lock's cleared. It was number 5 cylinder. So once we get it clear, we got to get all the coolant out, drain the block on the other side. Actually, starter's out here. We're going to drain the block on both sides and get all the coolant out right now. Now, what sucks is that now we can't do a VC9 flush because it has green coolant in it. Because the truck is now broke, we can't do a VC9 flush, so there is a freaking chance that you might be looking at 2 oil coolers. I mean, it doesn't happen almost never, but the proper way would be to get a VC9 flush, get this cooling system clean, get the right coolant in it, drive it as long as you can with the old oil cooler in it. Then when it's time to do work on it, you've already got the cooling system healthy. That old oil cooler is sacrificial. It's catching whatever crap is in the system. And then when you change the oil cooler after that, you could have, I mean, it's pretty much forever repair. I mean, you'll never have to mess with the oil cooler again. But we didn't get to do that on this one, so it's going to have to do a flush after the repair, which is kind of bass backwards. But all right, guys, that's well, maybe I'll make another video documenting it, the starting once we, but right now, drain all the coolant and get this freaking thing fired back up so we can burn any coolant that's inside these cylinders, burn it the hell out of there. So all right, guys, have a good day.